What is going on, investors? Hopefully you guys are having a great day out there. We're going to talk about Delta Airlines right now, ticker symbol DAL. This company just reported their full year and Q4 earnings, so it's going to be really interesting. We're going to take a look at the earnings. We're going to actually get over to the numbers, take a look at how much revenue is down. You know, with these airlines, it's going to be down. See also how much they cut expenses. Man, that's a really interesting take there. We get a kind of a full year view as well. Now, what's also very interesting is this stock has been on a monster run. After bottoming at about $18 per share, it's trading closer to 40, but believe it or not, there might actually be more room to run. And so I'll show you the levels where I think Delta Airlines can get to here in the future. So we'll jump over really quickly to what the executive said. Really, the Seeking Alpha kind of described it nicely here. Delta tracks higher after guidance satisfies. Okay, obviously earnings really bad. Okay, revenue fell 69% in the quarter. We'll see evidence of that when we jump over to the numbers. Capacity was down 44%. But take a look in Q1. So that's the quarter we're in now. Delta has a little bit of visibility into that quarter already because we're in the midst of it right now. We see that they're guiding for revenue to be down 60 to 65%. Obviously, that's better than 69% in Q4. And then operating expenses being down into the 35 to 40% lower. Again, that's really nice. Capacity to come in at 35%. Okay, again, 44% down in the Q4. So things are starting, it appears, at least from a guidance perspective, to turn around for Delta. And obviously, if you believe in the vaccination story and those types of things, if that will accelerate and that will work and those types of things, then obviously you'll have an in peak, not just in passenger travel, but business travel, and particularly with a Delta Airlines, and then international travel as well. So important to these airlines, especially like a Delta that operates, basically worldwide. So we've got 3 months ended here, 19 over 20. We'll take a look at the numbers. Boy, spoiler alert, they're an absolute disaster. Take a look at where passenger revenue was a year ago, $10.2 billion, all the way down to 2.7. That is $7.5 billion less. That's 74% decline. That's actually worse than the entire year. The entire year, obviously, you had a little bit of Q1 that was kind of normal. We're down about 70%. We went from 42 billion all the way down to 12.9 billion. Wow, that's just incredible. So total operating revenue down 65% in the quarter and about 64% year over year. I think, and I actually kind of hope this more than I think this, but I think we've kind of reached kind of a trough in terms of where demand is with these airlines. I think, wherever they are in terms of their demand, that's where it's going to stay. Obviously, if you have like a federally backed shutdown, which is possible, I've seen rumors of that, that would impact these, but my guess is it would be followed by hefty, or at least offset a little bit by some, in this case, a grant or money flowing into the airline. So you see here that Delta actually took in about $4 billion here on the expense side. That's why it's in parentheses, because you're kind of actually adding this back in. And so that kind of offset a little bit of some of their losses in terms of operating expenses. We see operating expenses came in at the quarter at $4.8 billion. That is $5.2 billion less than last year. Obviously, they shed tons of costs. Look at all these costs just going down, 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 down. So really, really incredible. Now, for the full year, they managed to cut costs about 27%, from about 40 billion down to about 30 billion. Obviously, some of that is offset. Looks like about 10% of that, a little more than 10%, offset by you, the taxpayer of the United States, if you're a United States citizen and you pay taxes. So we've got operating income negative 858 million. Again, not bad. Quite frankly, not really bad at all. So if these companies, if these airlines can control this, $858 million loss, not that bad. Again, most of that, or a lot of that, is benefited by this CARES Act grant. And so if those are to continue, if you get more of those, that should help these airlines out as well. They obviously made $1.4 billion in operating income in the previous period. You see, for the full year, we made $6.6 billion in 2019. This year, we lost $12.4 billion. So that's what's showing. That's why this 858 is a bright spot, because if you times this by 4, you're under $4 billion in operating losses. You see here, we lost $12 billion, which is like $1 billion a month, basically, for the full year. So they're doing well, controlling costs. That's why I think you've kind of reached, an inflection point with these airlines. Everybody's comfortable, or most people are comfortable with where they're at with demand. They think it's going to come back. The executives are kind of targeting it, that it comes back. That is why you've seen this stock kind of really melt up. But I think it's got some more room to run. So I've drawn in some longer term trend lines here. We're on a weekly view here just so I can get a lot more data onto this chart. There's key levels here, okay? I would expect some sellers to step in at these levels, but it could be that momentum takes over for Delta Airlines and we pop back up. This thing could easily come up into the 44. I think you'll see some resistance on this stock, $44, $45 a share, but that's still $4 over where we're at right now. That's 10% higher than we're at. But in the even shorter term, 43. We haven't been able to pick over this 43. When the stock got up to $43, $44 a share, it got rejected. I think any break of 43 and 44, this thing could run, man. This thing could run into the 48 and it could run all the way up into the 50s. Okay. Now, getting past 50, I think you'd have to be on the other end of the vaccination story, on the other end of the, kind of the virus, not necessarily being 100% gone, but, really having people having it on the back of their mind instead of the front of their mind. The stock will probably outpace that. So you'd probably want to front run this a little bit before that but this thing, once it broke above 52, man, it could come back up into the 50s, $60 range. So this one still has some room to run. If you want to set some stop losses down here at about $37 per share, that was kind of a key level here. And we have this large gap here. If this one reverses trend, it probably would want to suck back into this gap. In my opinion, that would create potentially a buying opportunity in this airline. So some room to run in this one, honestly, probably in the shorter term too. Some room to run in Delta. If you're looking for maybe a shorter term trade, or you're looking for, put some kind of trade on, would be kind of interesting. For a longer term perspective, I don't think you necessarily need to come in here and pick a dollar here, dollar there. It's not going to be that big of a deal when you're stretching this out over 4, 5, 6, 7 years. These airlines should be well positioned. They should get some government money, I would imagine, in the next round of stimulus. They've got lots of friends in Washington, and I'm sure a lot of them will be looking to help them out over the coming weeks and months and years ahead, likely. So that was Delta Airlines reacting positively to their earnings. We'll see what happens with this one going forward, but it's rallied nicely. I think it's probably got some more room to run. That was Delta Airlines. We'll be back again all this week and the coming weeks ahead with earnings. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Good luck with your investments.